Hello again. Um, Welcome back to my video. This is video number 5. My name is Jeff Mauk, and the topic of this series of videos is the Holy Grail, and in particular this object here, which I claim is actually the Holy Grail. And that's what I'll be discussing in this video. At the end of the last video, I said I was going to be researching Joseph of Arimathea in relationship to this object. He is a key figure in the New Testament, and in all regards to any object that would be that would have any kind of claim to be the Holy Grail. So Joseph of Arimathea was the individual who went to Pilate and requested the body of Jesus after he had been crucified. And he then buried the body in a tomb which he owned. According to Jewish law, the eldest male relative was the individual who had the responsibility of care of a body after somebody had died. So Joseph of Arimathea, now according to what I've been able to find out about him, he could have been and probably was related by blood to Mary, which would have made him perhaps Jesus' uncle. And it's interesting to me that the Joseph, who we know as Jesus' stepfather, disappears from the Bible at a very early point in Jesus' life. Whether that actually happened and that's the way it was, we really don't know. But I have a theory, and I haven't really heard this particular theory expressed before, and I'm not really sure how significant it might be. But what if Joseph, who was Jesus' stepfather, is the same as Joseph of Arimathea? Now, the reason that I find that to be interesting and potential is the word secret, which is used to describe Joseph of Arimathea. The Bible says he was a secret disciple of Jesus, and apparently he met with him in secret in the evenings sometimes. So if indeed Jesus was the biological son of Joseph of Arimathea, that means he was rich, which might explain how he could afford the luxury of being an itinerant rabbi and preaching. Also, it's interesting that he was a secret disciple. Now, he was also a member of the Sanhedrin, of the Council of Jews, who were among those who persecuted Jesus. But he was one of them who protested and did not go along with the persecution. Another clue. The fact that he was extremely eager to accomplish taking possession of the body, which is described. It is in the Bible. It says he was courageous in his approach. That indicates to me a kind of a strong emotional connection. Now, if he was also the original biological father of Jesus and the same carpenter and mentor, teacher, father to the young Jesus, who took him into Egypt to learn his craft, if he was that same individual, it actually does explain some things. If the theory is that Jesus was groomed to be the Messiah from childhood or infancy even, he would have been instructed by people who were older and knew exactly what they expected and would be required from a would-be Messiah or an actual Messiah. The parallels that exist between some of the Eastern religious traditions and what we know about Christianity are actually rather striking. In the biblical account, we have 3 wise men from the east come following a star to Bethlehem, where they believe the Messiah will be born. Where does that kind of concept come from? We know that in antiquity, people looked at the stars quite a bit, and they followed the stars. They used the stars for navigation and also to predict the future and to describe events on Earth. The people in ancient times connected the idea of gods to particular stars. So you have Mars, for example, was the god of war. Mercury was the god of, messengers or communication. But anyway, there was a connection between the heavens above and the earth below. And this is the way ancient folks thought about the stars. One of the connections that I find very interesting between the Eastern religions, or some of them, and Christianity is the idea of choosing the religious leader. As we know, in Tibetan Buddhism, elders are sent out in search of the new Dalai Lama, and the Dalai Lama is chosen as an infant child, usually 1 to 2 years old, and for some reason they go around and they find a child like that, and then that child is taken away and put into a school where the child is taught to become the next Dalai Lama. So we have in Christianity 3 wise men from the east seeking out a young child who will then be the Messiah. So it does stand to reason that Jesus, as that candidate, would have been instructed, probably intensively, for many, many years in exactly how to behave. Regarding Joseph of Arimathea, and or Joseph, his father, that individual would have had a pivotal role in the young Jesus. Now, according to the history that I've been able to find regarding Joseph of Arimathea, there are certain legends that indicate that he may have owned a tin mine in England, in around Cornwall, and that the young Jesus visited that tin mine with Joseph of Arimathea. And there's other legends that indicate that Jesus and Joseph of Arimathea were in Egypt, and they have, in the Coptic traditions, there are several locations in Egypt which are dedicated to honor the memory of the visit of Joseph and Jesus when they fled Egypt. Egypt is not that far to be prohibitive in terms of being able to go over there. 2 or 3 days journey, you could be there from Israel or Jerusalem. So it's entirely within the realm of possibilities. Joseph of Arimathea has a very strong place in Christian tradition. He is a saint in Catholicism. There are shrines and churches in England dedicated to him. But in regards to the Holy Grail, I think that whatever object is or was the Holy Grail was probably in his possession first before anyone else, simply because of his proximity to the crucifixion. There's also a tradition that it was Joseph of Arimathea's house where they held the Last Supper. Now, if he was indeed a rich and powerful member of the Sanhedrin Council, he would have been in a strong position to influence the Roman authorities in whatever he was proposing to them. If his position and placement was premeditated and part of a premeditated plan to implement and fulfill the prophecies of Isaiah, for example, or other prophecies regarding the Messiah, then he certainly fits the bill. His placement would give him leverage and the ability to accomplish whatever they may have planned. and actually did execute. We know something happened. We're not really exactly sure what. And if you're interested in finding out what actually happened, you would be wise to consider all possibilities. We know that there are things that are incredible, that defy logic, and those things are called miracles, and we're expected to accept the miracles without question that that is really what happened. I don't believe that it was ever God's intention for us to stop thinking and using our brains and reasoning with one another to determine what the truth is. The Bible does say that we should seek the truth, and the truth would set us free. Okay, how do you seek the truth if you can't ask questions? That's the thought for today, is how do you seek the truth if you can't ask questions? Now, for those who already know the truth or think they know the truth, there is no question. I used to have a saying that I thought was funny, and I still do. When you know the truth, there is no question. And that it really is true. If you can get to the point of certainty where there's really no dispute, and you can do that with things like math and logic. Right now, this video is getting a little bit long, and I just want to thank you for your time and putting up with me. If you have any ideas, suggestions, questions, please put them in the comment below, and I'll be happy to respond. I'm not saying anything with total certainty. Anything I say or you say or anyone says can and ought to be questioned. And I have always believed that the truth fears no scrutiny. So if you want to put out something and say, okay, this is what is the truth, but you don't want to be scrutinized, I think there's something funny going on there. I invite scrutiny, and I welcome your contributions. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video, which will be video number 6. Today we talked about Joseph of Arimathea a little bit. There was a lot more to him. I'm sure there's a lot of books and stuff that are written about him. But for the purposes of how he fits into this puzzle, he is a central figure in the quest for the Grail. And you can find a lot of more information about the Grail just by researching Joseph of Arimathea. Thank you for your time, and remember, if the dogma is wrong, the stray dogma might be right.